What you're looking at here, folks, is the inner crown of our Dicksonia antarctica, which is a Tasmanian tree fern. And the croziers are starting to unfurl right now. So those are giant fiddleheads, and I recommend you don't touch those things, because when you do touch them, sometimes you take some of that fur off, it gets black spots on them because they're tender. So that's the most tender part of the tree fern, is the inner crown. So in the wintertime, if you live in a cooler area and you think you're going to get some nasty cold weather, stick some burlap in there, bubble plastic on top of it, maybe a little piece of wood on top. Keep her snug in the winter time for the cold temps. And because you don't want to get that heavily frosted in there, because that could mean the end of your tree fern. Even if your tree fern is an old specimen with 8 or 10 feet of trunk, if that freezes, it's toast. So anyway, this tree fern here in our garden has 6 feet of trunk, and I planted it, it will be going into its 25th year now. So 1994 we planted this one, and it had this much trunk on it, and now it has that much trunk on it. It's grown another 3 feet of trunk. So this is last year's fronds. Okay, and what happens, we're gonna have about 2 dozen of these fronds unfurl every spring. About 2 dozen come out all at once, 8 foot in length. And then as time goes on over the summer, these older ones will start to brown a little bit, some of them, and then as they brown, I just cut them off and then just throw them at the base of the fern for mulch. But this is all of last year's fronds. This is an evergreen plant here in our garden and on Salt Spring Island. In most locations, the better growing locations. In the colder growing locations, you will have to protect probably the whole fern. If not, you're going to lose the fronds on it. And you probably don't have to worry about protecting the fronds, because it's the inner crown that's most important, because new ones will come out every year anyway, even if these get fried off at around just below 20 degrees. Temperature drops below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 6.5 or so Celsius. Those are toast. So there's been 2 occasions in the last 24 years that this has been here that the fronds have turned brown. In late December 1998 and in late December 2008. We got below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Not much below, but just enough to cook these fronds. So anyway, if you live in a similar growing zone, you might want to try the Dicksonia antarctica, or the Tasmanian tree fern. And it grows nice with Trachycarpus fortunei. And at 48 degrees latitude where we are, it will grow in full sun. And in the dry weather, make sure you water it from the inner crown. Put the water right down the top of it. You can fertilize it from there too. And I even wet down the trunk as well. The trunk is basically made up of roots. And this one was directly imported from Tasmania. So it's a beauty. One of our favorite garden plants. We have 2 other smaller ones as well. All right, thanks for watching, and happy exotic gardening.